Okay, camera's rolling. Okay.
Well, when we got to Vietnam,
I had to get to my camera. Sorry. No problem.
of course, in Vietnam, the Vietnamese were very intent on keeping us from communicating with one another. And the punishments for tapping on the walls or talking or making any kind of noise were at times quite severe. And so it was a challenge to learn how to keep in touch with each other, to pass information without talking. And so we were very fortunate that the fourth guy who was shot down was named Smitty Harris, and he was an Air Force officer. And he had been to SEER school, and one of the instructors there, not really part of the curriculum, I think, just over a cup of coffee, talked about a method of communication that World War II prisoners had used in Germany. And they used this to tap on the water pipes that ran between cell blocks. And so Smitty happened to remember that, and when he got there, he kind of passed the word around that, hey, this might be useful, you know, here. And so he taught it to as many people as he could. It was written down on, scraped into the wall, and so on. And so we all learned that. And it became the lifeblood of our whole organization and our whole life, really, is the way we kept in touch with each other and informed each other of what was happening and any news that we had. Or we eventually tapped over recipes and poetry and all kinds of things that were interesting because we were like sponges for knowledge. And this tap code was the way that we communicated most of it. So the tap code, we used it tapping on the walls for a couple of years. And then after Fred and I split up, I moved out to a prison called the Briar Patch, and it was out in the country, and there's no electricity and so on. And we were able to tap through the walls there. And one day I was sitting in my cell and I heard a message. And of course, when you have used the tap code for a long time, it becomes just like second nature, like a Morse code operator. And so you don't think about the taps, but you hear the message, you know, without thinking about how it got there. And so I heard a message, and it took me a minute to realize it was somebody was chopping wood. And this clever POW who'd been given a little machete, probably to chop the firewood, had said, if you can tap on the wall, you can chop on the log. And so right there was the birth of the PA system. And so now, instead of a person-to-person phone call kind of thing, it was a loudspeaker that everybody in the whole prison could hear. And so that opened up a world of possibilities. And it said, you can't just tap. Is any way that you can tap or you can make noise signifying numbers 1 to 5. You can send this code. Or you could tap your foot, you can hold up fingers, you can blink your eyes, you can, you know, do anything to convey numbers 1 to 5. You can use this code. And so it was really so very versatile. And I will tell you the most innovative use of the code was used by our senior officers who were at one point all put together in Heartbreak Hotel. And they had 3 guards outside the doors to make sure that they didn't tap on the wall, didn't talk, didn't make, you know, any kind of communication. And so here they are faced with the prospect of how do we communicate? And so we had this sweeping, snapping, you know, kind of thing. And so if you got out and you could sweep the trash on the street, you'd sweep out code, and you could even ask somebody a question or 20 questions. Are you okay? Or something like that. And then the responses were, you know, 2 taps meant yes, 1 tap meant no, 3 I didn't know, and that kind of thing. And so this whole idea of, and those responses were done by somebody sitting in a cell by coughing, a natural sound. And so it was either 1 cough or 2 coughs or something like that. So here these guys are sitting in their cells, and Jesus.
Call from Brett.
Marty got it. You want to just keep on, yeah.
Sure. Those guys are sitting.
And so they're sitting in their cells, and without any collaboration at all, they developed a means of communicating numbers 1 to 5, and it was based on coughs and other sounds. And so the numbers 1 and 2 were coughs, and the number 3 was a hack, like you're clearing your throat, and the number 4 was a spit, and the number 5 was a sneeze, or another bodily noise that you might make. You had a little option there for 5. So these guys didn't do anything all day but sit around, cough, hack, spit, you know. And so we called it the cough, hack, spit code. And that's all they did all day, right under the noses of the guards that were out there. They just never knew what was going on. It sounded like a TB ward in there, but that, you know, the Vietnamese were always coughing and hacking. They loved to spit in your cell, you know, so that wasn't anything new. So anyway, the code is pretty simple. It's just a square, 5 rows, 5 columns. So you have 25 blocks or cells, and you put the letters of the alphabet, you know, across the first row, second row, and so on. Leave out the letter K because you can substitute C for it. And so the first tap is the row, and the second tap is the column. So the letter C would be first row, third column. So I could say, and that says, hi, how are you? But abbreviating the R and the U to just those letters. And so we did that to, you know, to shorten the communication, and you didn't have to tap so much. And so V stood for Vietnamese, and Q stood for quiz, which stood for interrogation, and that kind of thing. So I'll, let me tap a message. So I think I messed that up a little bit because I'm a little rusty, but it said freedom, so sweet, GBU, which we ended all of our communications at the end of the day when we were going to go to sleep or whatever. We always said GBU, which was God bless you. So that kind of became the sign-off, you know, and sometimes it was just GB, or Yeah.
Beautiful, Porter.
Okay.
You good, Ken?
Yeah.
You got it all covered?
Yeah.
All right, I think,